Hello everyone and welcome to SpaceChem 2024 tournament week 6. This week we have Warpless Factory. As you can see, the goal of the level is to transform this thing on the left into the thing on the right, as you might expect from a SpaceChem level. The first thing you should know about this level is the metric. Instead of symbols or cycles, we are measuring the number of operations. Specifically, the metric is 5 times fuses plus 5 times splitters plus 1 times bond operations. Okay, sorry. I said fusers and splitters. I meant fuse operations and split operations. So 5 times split operations plus 5 times fuse operations plus 1 times bond operations plus 3 times piped molecules. Piped molecules is the technical number of output molecules. It only counts the number of molecules output from your reactors. In this level, you are going to have two types of reactors. The first is the fuse reactors, which is going to be the most common for reasons you are going to soon see. In it, there are only 4 fuse glyphs and nothing else. In the other bonder splitter reactor, you have 8 bonders and you have 4 splitters. So, as you might imagine from the metric, the optimization goal of the level is to make the maximum number of the minimum number of the most powerful operations. In other words, you are really encouraged to have as many things on the glyphs as possible at the moment when you make the as you execute the operation. What I mentioned earlier, the number of operations is then multiplied by log of cycles and by log of symbols. This makes those two metric parameters secondaries, but note that they are not tiebreakers. They are reasonably important. You will see things. Well, you will see people with worse scores on the operations, but which score better due to symbols and due to symbols and cycles advantage. You might also notice that we have only bond pluses, so you do not have debonds. You will have to fuse and split to debond the things you want to debond. This is a fairly mechanically not complex level. There are not any real complex challenges. You from the start have carbon and oxygen that most people will turn into silicon in the output. So this also means that I will not have really a lot to comment on. This might be quite a short video. So the key idea is really where do we get the silicon from? As you can see it is not possible to get all the silicon we need, which is 8 silicon, from a single block. And therefore you will need to use multiple blocks and then throw away what you do not need. Now, about the design of this level. The working name of this level was Tentacles, because what I wanted people to do is to have is to make 4 things in a row. For example, here 4 nitrogens in a row, and then you will fuse to it another stick of 4 nitrogens. Or of course this would work with 4 carbons plus 4 oxygens and so on. This did not quite work out as expected, but it still ended up as a quite interesting level, essentially about carving out the silicon chain from the blocks you have and from the blocks you might input additionally. The name of this level, Warpless Factory, is of course a reference to Warp Factory, an excellent Zack-like that I would strongly advise everyone to look up after this tournament is over. So, now to talk about the solutions. This can technically be beaten in one reactor, but we will not see one reactor solved. There was one scoring reactor solved, but it got obsoleted. So we are going to see multi-reactor solves. Did I forget anything? Okay, I'll disconnect for just a second, just to make sure I'm not spoiling anything. I'm not spoiling anything. Okay. I am not spoiling anything, so here we are. So, we are now going on to the solutions. First, we have vpumeyyv in the nice place with the solution name Symbols and Cycles All the Way. This is a 2-reactor solution. Oh, by the way, I would like to introduce the main way I would score, quote-unquote, the solutions. Because of the way the metric works, it is useful to count the number of operations per output. This is especially important because due to a recent metric change, we are now rounding the number of operations to a multiple of 20. This is done in order to not encourage people to special case out the 21st case, the 21st output, basically to not stop or delay the functionality of the machine after 20 outputs are done. Because you are rounding to 20, all additional operations will not count. So, I will present this as number of operations times their relative weights, which will give an operation score of the solution. So, this is vpumeyyv. And he has 4 bonds, 8 fuses, 0 splits, and 17 piped molecules for an operation score of 95. This is, as he wrote in the title, this is a very low symbol solution at 27. In fact, this is not only this is the lowest, this is almost 3 times lower than the next lowest symbol solution. Unfortunately, this is not a symbol solution, so this is not a symbol level. I mean, so unfortunately, this is placed in the last place. However, this is proof that this level can be solved in low symbol, but you probably do not want to do this. So, now let's watch at what actually happens. As you can see already, there is some black synchronization magic going on with blue on the right. We are making a hole. Yes, Haxton? Do you want to say something? I don't know what to do about it. What do I do about it? Okay, looks like Rex Kicks. Do you want to speak? I'll take that as a no. Okay. Via 3 fuses, we are making a hole in the middle of the molecule. And now we are rotating in order to make silicon, sigma silicon in this in those 3 positions that I am pointing out. As you can see, due to the way the blue timing works out, blue manages to grab the sigma now on the first pass through. Now it will now red outputs the 3 atoms, which is unfortunately not really desirable for this level to output single atoms. You really want to output big blocks. So anyway, red outputs inputs a new molecule, handles the same way, but now blue misses grabbing the sigma, and therefore red trashes sigma and outputs the silicon. Now the same thing happens for the third time, for the fourth time, and on the fifth time blue manages to grab the sigma again, and the cycles restart. So this is the first of the second, and the second reactor is similarly fairly simple. Blue is going in a circle. It's waiting for the either sigma silicon or 2 silicons to input, which it then bonds into the U shape that you are currently seeing. And then it outputs. If this was a simple solution, this would be quite an excellent solution. But unfortunately, this is not a simple level, and therefore vpumeyyv is in the last ninth place with a metric score of 8,800. Okay. In the 8th place we have Flight Risk with the title A New Hopelessness. They've submitted a lot of levels, which were a string of version updates on this level name, so this is I guess their final solution, which unfortunately is also scores quite badly. First, it has 1 bond plus, 5 fuses, 1 split, and 8 piped molecules for an operation score of 55, which is almost twice lower than vpumeyyv's, but still not quite there. Very complex first reactor, and we can see that we input we input 3 blocks. Okay, let me show that again. We input 3 blocks, which is quite a common pattern you are going to see in this level. As you can see, if you put 3 blocks like this, they will position themselves quite nicely, so that if you make a fuse at this moment, 4 things will get fused, which is quite efficient, which is exactly what happens now. Now the Waldos shuffle stuff around, and now a very interesting thing happens. We output this H-shaped thing, we make another H-shaped things, and then the third H-shaped thing. And that's all the first reactor does. It wastelessly turns 3 blocks by fusing their outer edges into 3 of those H-shaped things. And now, interesting thing happens in the second reactor. Remember, we are inputting 3. We are outputting 3 identical things, but we are inputting only 2 identical things. So we've changed the parity, quote unquote, from 3 to 2. Now we are doing a bunch of operations. Let me show that again. We are making 3 fuses, which is also quite nice. And by the way, notice an interesting thing. Instead of outputting the garbage immediately, what happens is it is left on the output matrix in order to in order to exploit the fuse that we will have to do on the next pass through anyway. Quite elegant. So, and the cycle continues. We are outputting 3 pieces of silicon with some sigma stuck on it into the third reactor. And the third reactor is quite simple. Oh, no, I'm sorry. There is some nickel as well, which we will have to split. We input everything, we split, we put silicon into good places, and we output. And that is pretty much it. This is note the simple difference. From 27 we go to 137. Okay, so to talk about this pattern of bonding 3 things, or rather multiple things, is going to be one of the 2 main approaches to this level. The other being bondless, which we will see later. So, in the 7th place we have anningmay with the name 3 sheets to the wind. First, we begin with a very similar pattern to what we saw just now, but now, instead of the 4 fusers being put in the straight line, we have one top, one offset. This means that we do not have an atom in the top left position, which, if you notice the shape of the output molecule, is going to be useless for us. Let me just quickly go back to the previous solution. Here is a downside of this situation. As you can see, we have a split after the first silicon top, which goes up and down, which doesn't match. Even though this is silicon which we need, this topology does not match what we need, and because we do not have d-bonds, we will have to do quite an expensive operation. We will have to fuse silicon into 2 silicons into nickel and then split them later. Which is quite expensive because fuses and splits is exactly what we are being judged on. So, anningmay avoids this by doing this offset pattern. So, even though he has 3 shapes in the annotation, in reality the top one is only made once. Afterwards, the top right atom is being absent because we are reusing this atom this molecule that has been left over from the previous operation. This was first reactor, and now we go to the second reactor. Now, here is the beautiful quadruple fuse efficiency. Unfortunately goes away because we are making a single fuse and then another single fuse, which is quite expensive. And now we see another common solution pattern. On the we have an essentially junk piece that is going to be used to fuse stuff on the main piece, on the main workpiece. Workpiece is usually going to look something like this, like this hooked thing. So we handle. So we've almost completely handled the workpiece, and now we trash the. Well, we not trash. We send the this feeder piece in the same direction. So we input now after fusing from the feeder into the workpiece the useful atoms, meaning making silicon, we are now doing the reverse. We are taking the workpiece and we are fusing the garbage away into the feeder piece that will be recycled, which is exactly what we see here. And now we output and the cycle restarts. So this was anningmay, which with 0 bond plus. As you can see, all 3 of his reactors are fusers, with 8 fuses, with 0 splits, of course, and with just 6 piped molecules. For the operation score of 58. If you remember, this is higher than flight risks 55, but its score is lower. In fact, it's I don't think I mentioned the flight risk metric. The flight risk metric is 7,200, and anningmay is 6,800. It's purely because it scores better both on cycles and on symbols. So anningmay has the metrics. Okay, I just did it. Okay. Now, even though we are rounding the number of operations to a multiple of 20, nevertheless, due to the fairly low output quota, which is 20 in this case, we run into an unfortunate situation, as anningmay did, where his solution is so well serialized that he a fully optimized solution on the speed and symbols would actually execute 15 fuses of the 21st output quota, which would count as +1 to his fusing score, and therefore, unfortunately, it was optimal for him to not submit the best solution symbol-wise and cycle-wise that he had. But such is reality. Unfortunately, if I had known about this earlier, I would have made the output quota higher. 1 second. In the 6th place, we have the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth is composed of Britboy, Baruki, Oz, and Jojo, with the name First Solve, which is indeed a first solve. They submitted quite late in the tournament. So we begin with quite efficient 2 quadruple fuses. We make 1, then we shuffle them around, doing some quite interesting tolerance, and we fuse a second time. Now you might notice that we have quite an interesting shape. They are almost identical, except the sigma and the nitrogen are swapped around. So this is pretty much all the first reactor does. It does those 2 fuses and that's it. Now, what does the second reactor do? Okay, another example of absurd tolerances. Look at those pass-bys. So we are fusing some stuff. We are fusing some stuff. I don't really know what to say about this other than we are fusing some stuff until we end up with 3 clean silicon pieces that no nickel, so no additional spending time on splitting, or rather spending additional metric points. And we just bond the three pieces together, and that's pretty much it. This was the Commonwealth for a metric score of 5800. So almost 1,000 drop from the previous anningmays. It has one bond, four fuses, 0 splits, and 8 piped molecules for an operation score of 45. Moving on, we have spiritual shampoo. Spiritual shampoo with the solution name of dexterity toy. It's a 2-reactor solve. Very complex first quite complex first reactor. What it as usual, we have a junk and a workpiece pieces, but here spiritual shampoo does something interesting. He shuffles around as we see often. As you might he shuffles, fuses to split things apart, and now quite an interesting thing happens. If you notice, this four silicon stick comes from one of the blocks, and the other piece comes from the other. So unlike other solutions which have separate junk and work pieces, this one actually mixes them together, which I find rather interesting. Now let's count the fuses. 1 fuse, 2 fuse, 3 fuse, 4 fuse, 5 fuse, and 6 fuse. Yeah, 6 fuse is higher than the Commonwealth had. And of course the second reactor just binds those two pieces together. Nothing interesting happens here. Interestingly enough, this solution was once upon a time the first place. However, unfortunately, he by first place I mean the first of multiple, not just the first because he was first. Unfortunately, he got obsoleted without really upgrading his solution too much. So this is spiritual shampoo with a metric score of 5500, so a 200 point drop. He has 1 bond, 6 fuses, and 5 piped molecules for a metric operation score of 46. So it is higher, but it is lower, but he manages to beat out the Commonwealth by having fewer symbols. Fourth place, names a heart with the metric with the solution name of Jacqueline. Names a heart is Sir and Big Mango Head. 2-reactor solution again. So we input, we begin fusing, and now it's just the 13th cycle, and we already have split one of the blocks apart. Okay, and here is the interesting part. This is I posted this in the channel. Why does the sprites literally overlap? Why does this not break? SpaceChem, why are you bugged? How do I report a bug? Anyway. So we split this apart. As you can see, we again have this unfortunate geometry, which will have to fuse nickel and then split and then bond. So that's 11 additional points of operations, of course, if you aren't mixing them with anything else, which is quite unfortunate. So fusing of some garbage on the top, some fine work here. Note the rotation. Fusing nickel, as I said, and those are the two pieces that are getting output. Yeah, Sir says that SpaceChem only checks for rotation collisions a certain number of times every cycle. So even though sprites overlap, and so even though collisions do get checked on the sprites, it's not like the hitbox is smaller, it still manages to somehow work. I don't know how people find this, but okay. This is a very, if you want to see very tight tolerance rotations, this is the level that you want to see. So here we are again seeing the instead of instantly outputting, one second, you can see that blue actually moves the magnesium down in order to harness the fuse so he harnesses this useful fuse of fusing oxygen into carbon by additionally fusing some garbage into some other garbage. And now we finally drop this piece of garbage. And in the second reactor we have what we've commonly seen: two pieces of silicon with some nickel. Unfortunately, we have to do the split, and the output. Yeah, that's it. This was named the heart with a metric score of 5100. So a 400 point drop. They have one bond, 5 fuses, 1 split, 4 piped molecules, for an operation score of 43. Next we have ToughThought with the name A Speck of Cobalt. Instantly we see some elongated pipe in order to delay. So we see the very common pattern where first we fuse useful things from the trash on the left into the workpiece on the right, and simultaneously we fuse some stuff on the right to itself. That was the first fuse. This is this. Well, I don't know why I'm counting. You can count this yourself. Another tight rotation. My god, how many others are going to be there? After we've done everything we wanted with the workpiece, we now fuse off some trash. This piece of trash gets dropped, and this Sinji is finally output. Interestingly, this is actually the okay. Yellow Bunny says there should be a penalty for useless grab drops. The original version of this puzzle actually had a penalty for grabs and drops, but I kinda changed my mind about overcomplicating things. So we now input this thingy. By the way, this is the only time in this among those solutions that we are going to see something useful being fused that is neither silicon nor nickel. In fact, this useful thing is cobalt, which we did not see because it instantly got output. Which output. And now cobalt has to be split. And now ToughThought does something interesting. You may note the command of bond plus on the screen. Let's see what happens. And what happens is that red bonds the two aluminiums to minimize the number of piped molecule penalty. But that's not all. You may notice that even after bonding this aluminium too, the red takes quite a while to actually trash this, and that's because even though ToughThought does this bond plus, in total among 20 outputs he only performs this bond plus operation 9 times. No, if it were 10, this would count as +1 to the operation score. But thanks to this delay, he manages to round down to 0, so it counts as 0 bond pluses. In fact, it was thanks to ToughThought solution before the metric update, where he had a gigantic delay after the special case delay after the 20th output, that we actually got the metric update. So ToughThought, congratulations on squeezing some cheese, some exploits, even wherever possible. This was ToughThought with a metric score of 4700. He has 0 bond pluses technically, 5 fuses, 1 split, 4 piped molecule for an operation score of 42. 1 bond less than names the heart. So next we have DariusOne with the solution name and close encounters of the sinkless kind. I bet this is about tight tolerances. I don't think it is, but it might be. I don't know. I don't know what this metric means. What this solution names means. So, what do we see here? We see a very common site where we input to block and instantly fuse some stuff from the trash from the garbage into the workpiece. We see this very familiar configuration of 3 blocks. We rotate, drop, drop. And now, I say unfortunately, but after losing those 2 corner oxygens, I'm sorry, this entire piece gets trashed. Massive waste, very wasteful. So, in absolute terms, the molecule is not changed that much. There aren't any gaping holes. This is, and the second reactor is also a fuser, so no bonding. Now, here something interesting happens as well. We have some trash on the workpiece, which we are going to get rid of by fusing it off as usual, because we can't do anything else about it. Now we submit the output, and now something interesting happens. We actually grab one of the trash atoms, and we put it on the input matrix in order to not recycle it immediately. So what happens now is the new input molecule gets input in such a way that the garbage cobalt is placed in its hole. So we are doing quadruple fuse, twice. We do two fuses to split off some garbage. We do one fuse to get rid of this cobalt, and we do one fuse to actually, well, not do something useful, but to prepare to split off this nitrogen. And that's pretty much it. This was DariusOne with the metric score of 4660, so I have to go into the tens. And the operation, it has 0 bond, 5 fuses, 0 splits, 5 piped molecules for an operation score of 40. In other words, compared to ToughThought, one of the splits has been turned into a piped molecule, which scored him, saved him 2 operation score. And this was second place, and now in the first place we have team Sacred Foundry with a solution name reverse order faster rest. I'm not sure what is being reversed. Maybe they can tell us in the chat. Team Sacred Foundry is Lazy Comet and Yellow Bunny. Oh, the order of the 2 reactors. I don't quite understand what you mean. Okay, compared to the previous solutions that we aren't going to see. Fantastic. So, blue does some priming, and we are off to the races. Interesting split of a single oxygen, and it's not even garbage. We are going to reuse it later in a better place. We make those 2 shapes that you see. Nothing. Yeah. We make those 2 things that you see. Nothing to say here. Interestingly, this is the only solution. That does this double pipe from one reactor to the second. So what is happening here? Okay. I have to show this. Around cycle 40, we have an absurd rotation. Look at this. How like, I understand that this is fusion, but how does this work? Why does this work? Red keeps moving down, and yet somehow blue manages to rotate. I'm just shocked. How does this work? Oh my god. So, as we've seen previously, we take this rectangular shape and we take this rectangular shape from which we only need the corner oxygens. We do some more splitting of via removal of garbage we are fusing, and that's pretty much it. Why is this better than the previous solutions? Why is this? Because it's yet another shift from fuse to bond. That's one, and two, because it is massively faster, and also quite cheaper. This is in fact the fastest solution of them all, and it would be also the cheapest, meaning the lowest symbol footprint, the lowest symbol count, if it weren't for the vpumeyyv who solved this as a symbol puzzle. So Team Sacred Foundry has 0 bonds, 4 fuses, 0 splits, and 6 piped molecules for an operation score of 38. So it's, I don't remember if I mentioned, but yet again we are turning one of the fuses into a bond. And combined with the improvement on the main on the cycles and symbols, this gives them a score of 3800. So that's almost 800 drop compared to the second place solution. As you may remember from the previous week, Team Sacred Foundry did another absurd thing, a similar absurd first place solve that's just crashed the second place, and now they've done this again. They've defeated DariusOne, they've defeated ToughThought, they defeated everyone who all the old timers. That's excellent. Even though you would, well, even though you wouldn't think of Albania or the comment as top players in their own right. Okay. And we have a single fun solution, again by Team Sacred Foundry. As you might expect, this is a single Waldo solution. Because this is single Waldo, you are quite limited in what you can do. And yes, Albania, this was just my first solve before even reading the metric. It's a fine tradition to solve without reading the metric. Sometimes it works, mostly it doesn't. Here's it, spiritual shampoo. Please read the metric. So we are making this swastika shape, and we are outputting into the second reactor. Now, here some absurd magic happens. Wherein instead of doing any kind of thinking how we can carve out the output, the target molecule from the input, we are splitting everything into 4 separate silicons and a single sigma. All silicons go into the lower output. This sigma also goes into the lower output. Then for whatever reason we are wasting some score on splitting the nitrogen instead of just rationing, but whatever, you know what you are doing, I hope. And this was the first swastika, and now we do the second. And now and this sigma gets trashed. Goodbye, sigma. Oh, it gets split, so waiting some more score. Then we split the nitrogen, and finally we are done with this. And in the third reactor, what is happening is nothing much. We take their 4 sigmas, 4 silicons, I mean. Then we add a sigma, and we add another 4 silicons. And that's the fun solution. Very, very slow, but quite decent on the symbols. So this was all the levels. So what can I say else about this level? This was originally scheduled as week 3. This got remade a bunch of times, or rather not remade, but I kicked the can down the roads, first to the 5th week, then to the 6th week, before I finally decided it could not be delayed any longer. But you might have noticed that it was rather easier than the surrounding round. That's because it was originally an early round. Now I would I would like to show the original version. Unfortunately, this will involve showing some spoilers. Please don't look at anything. Please don't look at anything. Please don't look at anything. Please close your eyes. Here it is. This is what the original I was planning to give you on the third week looked like. We have no splitters. No, sorry. I mean, no. We have a different configuration of fusers and splitters. Much fewer bonders. But the important thing is that there is a whole puzzle about extracting the sigma by purely. Oh yes, I forgot. You do get debonders in this version, but it's extremely expensive. It's like 12 hit per debond. So you essentially have to extract sigma via splitting, and then you get the hydrochlorics. As I mentioned, the intended way was to stack 4 hydrochlorics together, then fuse to another 4 hydrochlorics, and that would give you 3 seleniums. I did not like this version primarily because the bottom input had to be entirely trashed, so you got what you got. This was Warpless Factory round 6, and now we have 2 new rounds to introduce. First, we have the corruption, which is round 8. Round 8. Okay. This is an implementation of 2 separate ideas I had hopefully fun. I had hopefully fun ideas I had. The first is that the special rule is that you are only allowed to make in each given reactor you are only allowed to produce atoms of a single valency. Valency, of course, is the bond limit in the upper right. So, of course, this means that you mostly cannot split odd atoms, and you have to shuffle stuff around a lot, because you cannot normally fuse and split in the same reactor as you are accustomed to. And the second idea is that the input looks almost exactly the same as the output, but with some additional mass, which you will have to split off and then make another additional copy of the output molecule out of it. You have 2 kinds of reactors. All of them are pre-placed. You have the outer fairly weak reactors and the central fairly strong reactors. There's no depth to it. There is no depth to it. What did I want to say? And you might want to think about making 2 separate pipelines for handling the input, because this is a cycles puzzle. So if you duplicate some parts of the pipeline, then it will be quite beneficial. This was one of the 2 levels today, and the second is lockpicking, which is the third special level, quote unquote. Technically, it's called round super special. Why is it called like that? Because it is a real-time level. You will not be judged by either cycles or metric or any other standard parameters. You will be judged only by the solution time. Right now, you see there are 4 reactors, which are all empty, but you will be supplied a base solution, a lock, 4 locks, so to say, and you will have to find some kind of transformation, some kind of input molecule that will pass through those 4 reactors and will transform into the output molecule. I already have my first reviews. People like it, so I encourage you to request the solution from me and to try solving the food for yourself. It's going to be fine. So that's all I wanted to show for you today. If anyone has any questions, now would be a good time to ask on stream. You have 10 seconds. Okay, looks like nobody has any questions, so I guess. Oh no, somebody has something. Yes, I'm listening. Oh, many people. Oh, okay. It wasn't a question. It was a thanks for saying. Okay. So this was round 6. Congratulations to Team Sacred Foundry for another strong win. And I'll see you all next week. Thank you and goodbye.